Just yesterday, Vir Technology and GlaxoSmithKline reported some interim results from their phase 3 trial of their monoclonal antibody, which is VIR-7831. They were undergoing a phase 3 trial looking at reduction in hospitalization or death. So this is clinically relevant endpoints, and there's an 85% reduction. That's actually pretty impressive. Um, and it was so impressive that the Independent Data Monitoring Committee recommended they stop the trial. So when they have a trial and the trial shows that one arm is clearly better than the other arm, they usually stop the trial because they feel like it's unethical to continue with the trial when you know for sure that one arm is definitely better than the other arm. So they had about 600 patients enrolled, probably, roughly 300 in each group, and they had a 85% reduction in hospitalization. That 85% probably means that in the placebo group, there was like 20 patients that were hospitalized. And then in the treatment arm, there was three. So that would mean that 17 were protected from hospitalization or death. So 17 divided by 25 is 85%, which is probably the number. They don't have actual data, and as soon as they publish the data, we definitely will look at it pretty carefully. Um, but that's a pretty good number, a pretty large reduction. So, anyways, we were going to have to look at the actual trial to get to the nitty-gritty to see how impressive it is. I mean, a lot of it depends on their inclusion criteria. It would be much better if they were just testing on moderate and severe patients instead of testing on all symptomatic patients, because if you went with all symptomatic patients, in America, we've had at least 30 million symptomatic infections, and these monoclonal antibody therapies are quite expensive. Let's say that it was, $10,000 for per treatment, um, and you were going to treat 30 million people. That's $300 billion. So that's not really financially viable. But if you were to limit it to moderate to severe patients, then that becomes definitely more doable. So I was a little curious about it. Of course, they have not published this data on the phase 3 trial, but there is this paper written back in November of 2020 where they were going through all the different monoclonal antibodies. So this is the Regeneron, which we've heard about. Um, Regeneron medicine, that's what Trump got. And then this is the VIR-7831, and there's actually a VIR-7832, which is very similar. And they have been testing this since August of 2020. And so they talk about it here. So it's a fully human monoclonal antibody. So it's not chimeric. It's not partially mouse. Some of these monoclonal antibodies are like partially some other um, animal that they developed it in. They like took the Fab portion and then attached to a human FC portion. But this is based on the identification of a antibody that they found from a convalescent patient who recovered from SARS-1. Okay, so it was originally kind of developed as a SARS-1 therapy, but they found out that this thing cross-reacted with SARS-CoV-2. So it binds a highly conserved epitope shared by the two, which means that it's probably something that's very important because it's conserved across these two different viruses. So it's unlikely that you can get mutational escape. So that means if it's conserved, it's likely to be very important. And so if you change it, it probably makes the epitope, it makes the spike protein non-functional, because it's conserved things are thought to be very important for their function. So it was engineered starting from that to improve its pharmacokinetic features, in particular extend its half-life, so make it last longer. And they've developed a second antibody as well. And the second antibody was engineered to work as a T cell vaccine, so it's able to recruit T lymphocytes, which can recognize and kill the vaccine. So the trial that they're talking about is on 7831. I don't know if they're testing 7832. I assume that they are, and we'll probably hear about that later. So this is the Comet Ice trial. So anyway, that is what's currently happening with this monoclonal antibody. The 85% reduction is very impressive. And depending on the side effect profile, which for these monoclonal antibodies usually is not too bad, and the cost of the treatment, and what the selection criteria to give the patient to. This could be a very good drug, um, or not. It depends on the specifics. And I think as soon as they release the preprint of the data, we will definitely go over that.